Bona tarda a tothom. Benvinguts a un dijous europeu, l'últim dijous europeu que farem amb un ambaixador, i no ho dic pas per l'èxit de públic, sinó perquè, com sabeu, hi ha hagut una elecció i ja no sóc el ponent de la secció, sóc el ponent en funcions de la secció. Aleshores, avui parlarem anglès. El que sí faré és traduir el que dirà l'ambaixador i després, si algú que vol demà el que sigui en català, també li traduiré amb ell i a l'inrevés. Sí? Això cadascú com ho cregui convenient. Right, so we do the official part in English. We are very thankful and honored this evening to have with us Ambassador Micallef, who is the Maltese ambassador to Spain. Mr. Micallef was born in 1950 in Malta. You have the CV details in the fact sheet. He did an LLD at the Royal University of Malta. The fact sheet says the Real University, so it was a university for real, but it was also the Royal University. Then he started working as a journalist in a paper owned by his own family, the Bulletin, which then closed in 1976. He went on to work with Sotheby's in London, Paris, and Monte Carlo. So he's an ambassador with a special sensitivity, which is also always very useful to have for an ambassador. He also worked, he then was an ambassador, he then moved on to become a member of the Heritage Foundation in Malta, as which he edited a book at the time on banqueting, silver and banqueting in Malta. He went on to become the ambassador of Malta to the United States and Canada. He was a member of the Fulbright Foundation and of an advisory body to the American president. He came back to Malta and wrote a very interesting book, which is, the title is The Politics of Art. It's a book about the influence of art on politics. And then he became the Maltese ambassador to Spain in February 2013, which he is to this day. I'm particularly thankful to Ambassador Micallef because we have had to postpone this event for twice. Once because he had an urgency in Madrid. There's always urgencies in Madrid, I take it. And the second time around because we had an urgency here, namely big demonstrations, so we postponed it to today. I'm very thankful for his perseverance, and I give the floor to Ambassador Micallef. Welcome to the Ateneu.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the Belgian-Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce for inviting me here today, as it is my great pleasure to have this opportunity to speak to you about the Maltese presidency of the Council of the European Union. I understand that these European Thursdays are focused on the debate with all of you present today, so I will not try to take too much of your time. As Henry VIII would tell his wives, I shall not keep you long.
Should I translate this?
Yes.
Not just the last bit. Diu que se sent molt honrat d'haver sigut convidat aquí, que li han dit que no parlés gaire estona, cosa que ell no farà, i que farà com va dir Enric VIII a les seves dones, que és no us tindré ocupades molt de temps. Sabeu qui era Enric VIII?
Now that it has been almost 6 months since the end of the Maltese presidency, we are well placed to reflect on what we have managed to achieve despite our small size. As the smallest member state, taking over the presidency of the Council of the EU for the first time since joining the Union in 2004, was an important milestone for my country. A huge challenge which has put upon our shoulders great responsibilities. However, this challenge has filled us all with pride. We were aware that there is no room for complacency and that we must deliver and lead a strong, united union. The Maltese presidency took place during unprecedented challenging times for Europe, which continue to exist even today, a time which was characterized by the ever-growing debate on the future of Europe itself.
Diu que Malta va adherir-se a la Unió Europea en el 2004, que és l'estat membre més petit, això és 315 quilòmetres quadrats, per 400 i escaig 1.000 persones, i que els ha tocat presidir per primer cop el Consell de la Unió Europea enguany, i que ha sigut una època difícil perquè hi havia un seguit de reptes que continuen avui dia, però que ha sigut un gran honor poder-ho fer.
Brexit, the rise of populism and populist political parties, and the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Rome Treaties on the 25th of March were also factors which could not be underestimated during these difficult times. A time which is a make or break for our union and most importantly for our citizens. Malta was ready to face these challenges just as we are ready to face our domestic challenges. In the past years, Malta has reached an unprecedented level of success, including lowering our employment rate, where we have cut youth unemployment by 2/3, boosted female participation, securing one of the lowest gender pay gaps in Europe, cutting income tax for 3 consecutive years, and registering a continuous growth in our GDP. In fact, according to the latest Eurostat figures, Malta has the second lowest unemployment rate in the EU at 3.5%. Moreover, the economic confidence level as of last November has reached a level of 123, a 3.5% increase on the previous months. These figures show the highest optimism level ever observed within EU countries.
Want me to translate this? These
You
are
want?
the good news. Diu que Malta és un exemple econòmicament parlant, que tenen la taxa d'atur més baixa, la segona més baixa, d'Europa, amb un 3,5%, que aquí només podem somiar-ne, que han baixat, com alguns liberals de la sala sentiran amb molta joia, han reduït la taxa de l'impost sobre la renta 3 anys seguits, que han reduït l'atur juvenil en un 60% i que tenen com es diu això en català, dels diferències salarials entre homes i dones, el gender gap és un dels més baixos de la Unió Europea.
The experience gained through this domestic journey of growth was indeed an added asset to our preparedness to lead a united Europe with our presidency. As I am sure you are aware, Malta chose to focus on 6 main priority areas for its EU presidency: migration, security, neighbourhood, the single market, maritime and social inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, identifying migration as one of the key priorities for Malta's presidency could not have been more timely. Due to our geographical position, migration is a key priority for Malta as it is for Spain. No country can manage migration challenges on its own, and thus it is very important that the EU acts together in unison. We need to send out beyond all horizons the political message of a united Europe. The Maltese presidency worked on the external dimension and its special focus on migratory flows in the central Mediterranean. An implementation plan to reinforce regional cooperation with Libya in particular was put in place, while action continued on the partnership framework agreed at the 2015 Valletta Summit on Migration. During the Maltese presidency, the Council made significant progress towards better control and management of borders, documentation and the entry-exit system. In fact, during the Malta summit, the EU heads of state and government agreed on the Malta Declaration, which focuses on the external aspects of migration. Security, an issue which I have to say that unfortunately has become a topic of discussion on a day-to-day basis. The safety of our citizens should be a top priority. We have come to realize that security in Europe and security outside of Europe, particularly in our neighborhood, the Mediterranean, are connected. During the Maltese presidency, the Council adopted a directive to combat terrorism, which includes a new set of measures to respond to the evolving threat of terrorism, a directive on the fight against fraud to the financial interests of the Union, and conclusions on EU global strategy in the areas of security and defense were also adopted. The political stability in Libya, the situation in Syria, and the volatile situation in the eastern neighborhood have made our immediate neighborhood one of the most turbulent regions in the world. Thus, the presidency made sure that our neighborhood stays high on the European agenda. The European Neighbourhood Policy, ENP, if used to its full potential, can play an important role in this field, as it can help neighbouring countries grow and prosper. The Western Balkans is another crucial region that the EU needs and should focus on. As Presidency, Malta made sure that discussions between the EU and the Western Balkan countries lead to the desirable prospects, with policy-oriented issues discussed with the Western Balkan countries themselves. The European Union can never be complete until the Western Balkan countries are part of the European family. Ladies and gentlemen, diplomacy and dialogue should remain the chosen way to resolve crises, and this is the more so when considering the challenges within the Euro-Mediterranean region. In this respect, Malta has focused its efforts on the enrichment of synergies between initiatives such as the Anna Lindh Foundation, the Union for the Mediterranean, and the 5+5 Western Mediterranean. Malta believes that a projects-based approach with specific focus on job creation, entrepreneurship, and youth empowerment can lead to efficient, effective, and tangible results for this region to reach its very well-deserved potential. One of the priorities of the Maltese presidency was also focused on the deepening of relations and engagement with the Arab world. Malta remains committed to the EU League of Arab States. Dialogue in order to further enrich the relations between the two sides for the mutual benefits of the citizens of both the EU as well as the member states of the League of Arab States. The neighbours of our neighbours are also important partners of the EU. Relations with the Gulf Cooperation Council and its member countries should remain at the forefront of the EU's agenda. In this regard, the Maltese presidency has prioritized the revitalization of multi-level cooperation with both the Gulf Cooperation Council and its member states. In the maritime sector, Malta, as a maritime state primarily, has continuously reiterated its commitments towards the enhancement of a holistic EU-integrated maritime policy to include the growth of the blue economy as part of the Blue Growth Initiative. As Presidency, Malta worked on the improvement of financial transparency of ports, defining the specification of fishing vessels and regulating the registration of persons sailing on board passenger ships. Success was also achieved on a number of fisheries dossiers, including the signing of the Malta Med Fish Forever Declaration, which was agreed upon by both EU ministers as well as non-EU Mediterranean ministers. This declaration established a 10-year plan intended to bring Mediterranean fish stocks to higher sustainability levels. Another significant achievement was the adoption of the Council conclusions on international ocean governance and on the priorities of the EU's maritime transport policy until 2020. Much work has also been focused on the theme of social inclusions. Conclusion on the European Solidarity Corps and on the high-quality education, on enhancing the skills of women and men in the EU labour market, and on the protection and promotion of the rights of the child were adopted. Our citizens should remain at the core of every policy, every action, every decision, and thus it is of the utmost importance that the decisions made at EU level have a direct positive impact on the lives of EU citizens. In fact, during our presidency, the single market, which is the EU's greatest financial asset, was a top priority. Progress was registered in the involvement of consumers in policy making and in the enforcement of consumer protection laws. The main goal of the Maltese presidency was to bring the EU closer to its citizens and to bring tangible improvements to their quality of life. Several regulations, directives and decisions were agreed upon, which covered the areas of the digital economy, energy and climate change, capital markets and financial services, amongst others. On the digital single market, the Maltese presidency made overall progress and reached important milestones, including on the Wi-Fi for EU initiative, allowing for Wi-Fi connectivity for citizens and visitors in public spaces, and wholesale roaming charges for mobile phones. In other words, thanks to Malta, European citizens can now roam freely on their mobiles within EU member states. In conclusion, the Presidency should be not be seen in isolation, but in an ever-changing European and international fluctuating setting. Malta faces this Presidency with mixed feelings. On the one hand, with humility and awareness that our country is the smallest EU member state, but at the same time with strength and energy to come up with concrete and meaningful proposals for the benefit of EU citizens. I believe that we were and are able to carry out our responsibilities not only to the best of our abilities, but knowing that through our size, our population, our economies of scale and our history, Malta contributed well to the European project. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. I haven't translated what he said because we have a recap on the fact sheet. So he basically presented the 6 points of Maltese priorities during the presidency. Now we come to the actual debate. Are there any comments, observations, criticism, questions? This gentleman, Jordina, sisplau. Aquest jove. Gràcies. Perquè és el que estava dient, perdó, perquè surt un resum al full de fets. El que ha fet és presentar els 6 punts de prioritats de la presidència maltesa i els té al full de fets, a la pàgina al revers. El té al full de fets? No el té. A l'entrada sempre tenim el full de fets, li dono que el meu. Te l'he enviat per correu electrònic, ara tinc aquí...
Well, I have 2 questions, one of internal and an order and another of external order. Regards to internal order or Maltese affairs, what are the recent developments about the inquiry on Daphne Caruana Galizia assassination? And in external order, I want to question you about the concrete key facts related to the Union of the Mediterranean. Because for so much time we have the impression we don't know anything about the Union for the Mediterranean, and we have also the impression that this is go too slowly. Thank you very much.
If you may I just translate this. La pregunta del jove ha sigut doble. Diu que té una pregunta d'ordre intern, que és l'assassinat de la periodista Daphne Caruana Galizia fa uns mesos, i una segona pregunta d'ordre extern, que és què passa amb la Unió de la Mediterrània. Sí?
With the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia, the situation is that 2 of the alleged criminals who conducted this terrible act have been arrested and arraigned in court. So we have sound knowledge of what went on, and now the legal process will start and we will find out more in due course. But we have had success thanks to the FBI and thanks to Interpol. They managed to locate through a special system called triangular system. They managed to locate the criminal who made the mobile call, which triggered the bomb. Fortunately for the world, his credit on his SMS, he had an anonymous mobile, ran out, and he used his own mobile. So we could locate the whole. We have been fortunate to go to the bottom of it, and now there are investigations going on with other bomb attacks that happened in Malta in the same year. We've had 5 bomb attacks in the last 2 years in Malta. So this is a very good news. We get somewhere and we find out who were the people responsible and punish them, hopefully.
Let me translate this. Pel primer punt, el punt de Daphne Caruana Galizia, diu que la policia maltesa ha detingut els 3 responsables de l'atac, era un cotxe bomba, i que això ha sigut possible gràcies a la col·laboració de l'FBI i d'Interpol, que han sabut retrasar o trobar el mòbil, perquè la bomba es va fer detonar per via d'un SMS. I diu que sortosament el senyor, l'assassí, que va fer detonar el cotxe, se li havia acabat el crèdit del mòbil anònim que havia comprat i per fer aquell SMS va fer servir el seu propi mòbil, amb la qual cosa es va poder saber de qui era i qui havia fet explotar aquell cotxe, i que a més era el 5è atac amb cotxe bomba d'enguany, i que per tant ell pensa que ara que són a la presó i que començarà la investigació criminal, doncs tirant del fil sortiran més coses. Això és la primera pregunta del jove, i ara la segona, que és la Unió per la Mediterrània.
With the Union for the Mediterranean, this is a multinational initiative, which was initially the brainwave of France, where the idea being that the 5 southern European states and the 5 northern states of the Maghreb dialogue together within the scope of the Mediterranean being our common home, but with all these international fora, it is not always easy to notice visible evidence of meaningful progress, but hopefully progress will be made. I know as much as you about what is the ideal world and what it can produce. That's the situation.
El senyor ambaixador ha fet un comentari una mica irònic, diu que la Unió per la Mediterrània és un invent francès del senyor Sarkozy, per no dir cap nom, i que la idea és bona, evidentment, de fer dialogar 5 estats de la Unió Europea que són veïns de la Mediterrània amb els 5 àrabs de l'altra banda de la Mediterrània, però que el problema que ell veu en aquesta mena d'organismes internacionals és que hi ha una certa proliferació i que al capdavall ja no saps amb qui parlar i a quin d'aquests fòrums. I diu que potser la Unió per la Mediterrània ha patit una mica la conseqüència de ser l'últim que se n'ha creat de fòrum, amb la qual cosa la gent va una mica perduda. Un resum breu però adequat, no? Oi? Del que ha dit l'ambaixador. El jove de vermell.
I would like to ask to the ambassador if the ambassador thinks that the European Union has done any progress in solving the critics that Eurocritics make to the European Union in order to achieve more integration and not new exits of other countries.
Demana el nou ponent de la secció, Sasha Golovin, demana si l'ambaixador pensa que Europa ha fet alguna mena de progrés per contrariar o per tenir en compte les crítiques que ha rebut sobre el funcionament intern i per aconseguir que en comptes de tenir més països que vulguin marxar tinguem més de cohesió interna.
Let us be positive like we were with some of the previous answers, hopefully. The European Union, one must remember, especially for a young boy like you didn't come from... I was born soon after the end of the Second World War, so you cannot imagine the world then. The European Union has been since the Treaty of Rome, in the main, not with everything, a successful, very successful historical achievement, a union of a common market between the main European states in the heart of Europe. Spain, in fact, has been one of the net beneficiaries of the EU success story. So, thank God we have a much stronger and richer Spain. It was one of the good effects of the EU after the end of Franquism and the birth of democracy in Spain. So the EU was a very good vehicle for Spain to move ahead. Is the EU good enough? No. And is the EU the perfect solution? It's a very complicated process, because the EU quite rightly continued to enlarge and become larger and larger. The larger something gets, the more hard it becomes to manage. This was a very big problem from the history of all time with the Roman Empire. The Roman Senate tried to stop the expansion of the Roman Empire 3 times, because every time the empire got bigger and bigger, it tended to crumble. So the EU grew and grew. We've now had a very bad setback to its health. We first had the financial crisis with the Greek problem, which was a very big blow to the serenity of the EU as a successful economic group. But this seems to have been overcome largely. And now we have Brexit, which is which is one of the consequences of the large size of the EU, because what happened with the EU becoming very large, the United Kingdom became a focal lighthouse whereby many EU citizens from the EU and outside the EU looked upon the United Kingdom as the ideal place to go and live in. So there was a huge influx of immigration in the United Kingdom. The British people, as far as I know, I've lived in England myself for years, are not anti-immigration. But I think they were more frightened about the extent and other factors of disagreement with Brussels, and they have their own ideas. I am sure that eventually a Brexit will be agreed upon, which will still keep Great Britain and the United Kingdom part of the European family, maybe in a different form and under a different dimension, but the United Kingdom remains a very important part of the security of Europe, for example. It's a very important trading partner. They buy 800,000 German cars, and they buy a hell of a lot of French cheese. So what will we do? I mean, we cannot, there's a reality. It's a very important European country. So hopefully a new dimension will evolve without weakening the future success of the EU. And hopefully the EU will continue to be at least a very important success story. It is a huge single market trade bloc. It is one of the hugest trade blocs of the planet. So in reality, it is a very great success story with, like all success stories, its size and its dimension is such, and the diversity of the countries is such that it is not an easy group to keep in tandem. Not everybody can be made to agree and pulled by the nose, and it's got a lot of countries with their own with their own ideas, and it's not easy to achieve consensus, as you can well imagine. But it is largely a success story, and we have to be grateful for how well we've done with it. Thank you.
Bé, ha començat dient que un jove com Alexander Golovin, que ha nascut molt després de la Segona Guerra Mundial, no pot imaginar-se l'estat en el qual es trobava Europa a les acaballes de la Segona Guerra Mundial. Ell, ja ho he dit abans, el senyor ambaixador nascut l'any 50, jo sí que recordo una mica com era allò, i que Europa ha sigut la via de sortir d'aquell desori, que Europa ha sigut un enorme èxit, que ha sigut molt beneficiós per a tots els estats membres. El que més diners ha rebut és Espanya, és a dir, que Espanya ha sigut una benedicció a la Unió Europea, i que evidentment aplegar tants estats té les seves dificultats, i que hem patit dues grans crisis, no? La primera del 2008, la crisi financera amb el problema de Grècia, que ell diu que bàsicament el tenim resolt, tant de bo sigui veritat, això ho dic jo, i el segon, evidentment, Brexit. I diu que el problema de Brexit és complex, que el Regne Unit ha sigut durant molts anys el destí somiat de molts immigrants que pensaven que dins de la Unió Europea on millor s'estarien seria el Regne Unit, que per aquest motiu precisament, perquè hi ha tanta immigració, encara que soni paradoxal, no hi ha tanta aversió contra la immigració al Regne Unit, el que sí hi havia era cert escepticisme envers a Brussel·les, no? La gran hidrocefàlia administrativa de Brussel·les, que la decisió del Brexit és un repte. Per què? Perquè el Regne Unit és un soci comercial indispensable per a la Unió Europea, ha dit que compren 800.000 cotxes alemanys cada any i un munt de formatges francesos cada any, no sé el que pesarà més, i ha dit que evidentment també per al Regne Unit és molt important Europa, perquè Europa és el mercat únic europeu, el mercat interior europeu és el bloc comercial homogeneitzat o harmonitzat més gros del món, amb la qual cosa ell espera i suposa que s'arribarà a alguna mena de compromís que permeti que tant la Unió Europea pugui seguir sent l'èxit que ha sigut fins ara com que el Regne Unit també se'n pugui sortir. El que no li hem demanat, potser li podem demanar ara, és si pensa que el Brexit és reversible, que potser és una mica la pregunta que hi havia, potser li faré aquesta pregunta. Just meandering, Ambassador, translating your not meandering answer, which just occurred to me, you didn't say, as the diplomat you are, whether you think that Brexit is reversible. You were just talking about a compromise proposal which would fit or suit both the UK and Europe. Do you think Brexit is reversible?
I can, not as a diplomat or not as a diplomat, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it is reversible. I wouldn't be surprised if it never happens. I wouldn't be surprised.
Dic que no és una pregunta per un diplomàtic, però ell que pensa que és possible que sigui reversible, és possible que no s'esdevingui mai, que no passi mai, que no arribem mai. Quina és la data? És d'aquí 2 anys, no? Que no arribi mai la data en la qual el Regne Unit abandoni la Unió Europea, que no se sap.
For example, yesterday the British Parliament defeated the government and said that whatever condition that is agreed upon in the final draft of the treaty has to have the agreement of the British Parliament. It's a very big, it's an incredibly complicated thing, this Brexit. It's very, very complicated to find the right way for the first part of it, which is the divorce part from the European Union, and to create the right formula for a new trading relationship. So, I wonder time will only tell us. There are various possibilities. It could end up in a Brexit which is so mild that one will wonder why the whole thing happened in the first place. It could end up into, the permutations are enormous. We could have in the meantime, during the negotiating period, a change in government in England, and we can see something else could come out of that. Or we could have a clear-cut Brexit, as the Brexiteers want. In other words, a real Brexit, whereby the United Kingdom will exit from the European Union, as it said it would. It will pay for its divorce bill. An agreement will be reached, which will be accepted by the British Parliament, and a new arrangement will come into place. And we will learn how to live with it and work in harmony with the new dimension. We just have to wait and see.
Ha afegit que una de les incògnites és el paper del Parlament britànic, que ahir va votar contra el govern i que a més ja ha dit que de tota manera farà una votació sobre el resultat final, sobre l'acord al qual arribi el Regne Unit amb Europa. I ha dit que les opcions, hi ha un ventall d'opcions que ningú no sap ara mateix què sortirà, quin serà el resultat de les negociacions, que pot haver-hi l'opció més tova, ha dit, no? Que hi hagi un Brexit tan tou que bàsicament hom es pugui demanar si per això calia fer tot aquest tot aquest enrenau i votar pel Brexit, i que l'altra possibilitat és la que vol el govern actual, que és fer un punt i final i negociar una cosa que no tingui res a veure amb la pertinença a la Unió Europea. El problema, diu, és que hi ha dues parts, no? Una part és el divorci, que ha dit ell, el divorci, és la separació, que és el que cal que acabi, i després el segon repte és, un cop sabem el que ja no serà, què posem per substituir això que deixi d'existir. I com és un entramat de regles, normes i regulacions molt poc clar, doncs és una cosa que és molt difícil de predir. És allò que deia aquell francès, no? Que els pronòstics sempre són difícils, sobretot si som al futur. Hi ha alguna altra intervenció? Vostè.
It is clear with Brexit what is upsetting the United Kingdom most is that they are very happy to, it seems like they would be very happy to pay the 23 billion or 25 billion divorce bill, but what interests them most is not to continue paying so much money in support of the EU. This is what they want, and they want to start using that money, which they believe will be better used for the national health system and for their own internal needs. It's just a choice which also it's very complicated. You must also realize that this Brexit passed with a very small majority. It's not something where 65% or 70% wanted Brexit and 30% didn't. It's a 50-50 thing. So it could change. I think it could change. I won't be surprised. Whatever happens, I won't be surprised.
Molt diplomàtic. Diu que passi el que passi, no serà sorpresa ell. Diu que hi ha dos aspectes, no? Un és l'aspecte financer, bàsicament el missatge del vot del Brexit és que estan molt disposats a pagar els 22 o 23.000 milions que els hi demanen per al divorci, però el que no estan disposats a fer és seguir pagant cada any una milionada. De fet, si no recordo menys, són uns 7.000 milions que paga el Regne Unit cada any al pressupost comunitari, que aquests diners sí que els volen invertir de forma, segons ells, més cabal i més planera, per exemple, el sistema de salut, no? El sistema sanitari del Regne Unit. Aquesta és la part financera. I la part política, clar, la gran feblesa del Brexit és que no va ser una decisió 70-30, sinó que va ser una decisió molt justeta, 50-50, i que per tant, com ja he dit al començament, ell pensa que pot passar de tot, bàsicament. Vostès, sisplau.
Yes, I've just got a very general question. What do you think, after this experience, were the advantages and disadvantages of being one of the smaller countries as president? And if in fact in the end you think it is an advantage or a disadvantage to be a small country in this position?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask what were the advantages and disadvantages of being a smaller country in the presidency, and if in fact you think it is an advantage or a disadvantage to be one of the smaller European countries in the role of president.
Well,
Just translate the question. La pregunta és si l'ambaixador pensa que quins són els avantatges i inconvenients de ser un país petitó, un estat membre petitó, detenint la presidència del Consell de la Unió Europea.
Well, the primary consideration, I would say, is that allowing a small country like Malta to still retain the presidency of such a gigantic, huge bloc, the presidency of the EU, whereby for a period of time it calls the shot, so to speak, even with such large countries, such big, powerful companies like Spain, like Germany, like Italy, like so many others. Everybody else is bigger than Malta and more powerful than Malta. So the fact that a small country can be allowed to politely, with humility, because you're small, you have to be very careful how to behave. Might is right, no, unfortunately, and you have to be. But if a small country can be a guiding light and can bring about very meaningful changes that affect every European citizen, like, for example, the success we had with the removal of roaming charges, where the telephonic companies were notorious this robbing everybody with their 40 cents a second or minute or whatever it is for your phone calls, bringing a bit of regulation within the EU in something that affects our lives so much today, the mobile phone. The insistence that Wi-Fi connectivity becomes part of every European piazza in Europe. These are all very meaningful, promoting the rights and coming to some positive conclusion with the promotion of rights of women, you know, which in my country we have been very successful with reducing the incongruencies of the gender pay gender gap, with women and men in Malta are almost getting to be paid equally. Still a way to go, but we're getting there. Well, this is a positive side of that. A small country like Malta is not actually swallowed up by such a big union. The advantages of Malta joining the EU have been various. The EU has helped us. It hasn't been as much of an advantage as, for example, it has been to Spain, because we are a small country, so we have small agriculture. So whereby Spain is a huge country, to give an example. The United Kingdom, they're huge countries in comparison to Malta, France. So the EU originally was based on, the first part of the treaty was based on the common agriculture policy. In other words, using common funds which come from taxing the single market and using this money to subsidize agriculture, the poorer, the more hard working elements within our societies. Agriculture, you know, the people that get up at 5 in the morning to feed the cows, ultimately nothing has changed, it's still the same. So the common agricultural policy has been an incredible success story within the EU. It hasn't affected Malta so much because Malta has little agriculture. It has agriculture. We produce all our vegetables and all our fruit, especially in the island of Gozo, but it is also a very overbuilt, densely populated country. I think the second largest, the most densely populated country in the world, small country in the world, island state. Yes, so from that point of view of agriculture, I think it hasn't benefited Malta so much. But for example, we have been benefiting a lot from wonderful European schemes like Erasmus to teach students. We have developed our skills with teaching English and honed our skills with English and business English today. Malta has become the excellent center of learning for Spanish students learning English and business English. So we have also, with EU funds, managed to improve our not so good infrastructure. And we have had some amazing Spanish companies, like one of them having been just the San Jose, which has just finished a very wonderful infrastructure project in Malta. We are trying to make the country more easy to communicate within it, because we have a large amount of cars. We have had very good Spanish influence with our bus system, because we are an overcrowded island with cars. So we have, again, a Spanish company who has set up an excellent bus service. We're now looking at other ways to keep the country moving more easily, like a train system and a ferry system between different parts of the harbour, to reduce. Our biggest problem is cars and infrastructure. Our biggest problem is our road infrastructure, which we are investing a great deal of money into improving. It has improved considerably from night to day. It is becoming a state-of-the-art infrastructure system. We still have a way to go, but you're beginning to see. We have been so used to such a bad infrastructure system that it's hard to believe how wonderful it is becoming. It's almost too difficult to believe that it's actually happening, but we have a very good infrastructure system in the making at a very advanced stage, and our other big challenge is to improve our infrastructure from the point of view of communication. So we are looking at several interesting proposals linking Malta through the Balearics and through the Canaries, through Lisbon, through the great Atlantic communication skills, so forth. Our financial industry will, with the press of a button, be able to talk to Buenos Aires in half a second. So this is the two challenges. And in both these challenges, we have been good beneficiaries of the EU. So I think the EU is managing to touch different countries in positive ways. I just was speaking to the receptionist of my hotel this afternoon, who's from Romania, from Cluj, and he was telling me how enormously this part of Romania has improved with EU funds. So we must look more positively at the EU and not just look upon the some of the problems that are happening, which can be a little bit upsetting. We have to look upon them as challenges, but we have to also look back and look ahead and look back at the large amount of achievements that have happened, since the Second World War in Europe. And Europe today is a very solid, strong economic power. It's a big power today, from the phoenix from ashes. So we have a lot to celebrate. Thank you.
Bé, les dues qüestions. La primera, que era com és per un estat petit, el més petit, de fet, de presidir el Consell de la Unió Europea, ha dit que, home, fa patxoca, no? Això de ser qui remena les cireres, qui mana, no? Amb tots aquests grans estats membres, que evidentment, sent un estat petit, has de fer una mica com un llum, no? Com un fanalet enmig de la foscor, però que l'èxit de la presidència maltesa demostra que sí que tens marge de manobra, per exemple, en dues mesures que surten al vostre full de fets, no? Que és, per exemple, l'abolició del cost d'itinerància dels serveis mòbils, que és una cosa que ens afecta a tots com a propietaris de telèfons mòbils, que el lobby que havien fet les grans empreses de telecomunicacions havia sigut bestial, amb perdó, no és un mot que hagi emprat ell, que bàsicament Malta ha aconseguit que es complís el compromís que s'havia esbossat, però que no era gens cert o gens segur que s'arribaria a fer. El mateix tema, el wifi ciutadà, no? Que tenim aquí a Barcelona, però a moltes ciutats d'Europa no n'hi ha, i que Malta ha aconseguit que tots els estats membres acceptessin el compromís de crear-ne a les ciutats, a les piazzes, com ha dit ell. És a dir, que com a estat petit, si pots remenar les cireres, si pots manar, pots aconseguir alguna cosa. La pregunta més general sobre el benefici per a un estat petit, o els avantatges d'un estat petit de ser estat membre de la Unió Europea, diu que la grossa, diguem-ne, a la Unió Europea és la política agrària comuna, que vam fer un dijous europeus per explicar-la, que bàsicament consisteix en revertir una molt important part dels ingressos de la Unió Europea per subsidis agraris, no? Pel senyor o la senyora que es lleva a 5 del matí per donar de menjar a les vaques, i que això, malauradament, d'aquesta grossa, Malta se n'ha aprofitat molt poquet, perquè Malta, a banda de ser una illa petita, té un problema de sobrepoblació. Diu que és el segon estat més poblat del món de densitat de població, llavors no tenen gaire superfície agrícola, amb la cosa això no se n'ha aprofitat gaire, però que han tret profit d'altres fons, d'altres sistemes de finançament europeus, que si hagués de triar un gran èxit del qual s'ha aprofitat, del qual s'ha beneficiat Malta, és Erasmus, no? Perquè després gràcies a Erasmus hi ha moltíssims estudiants que escullen Malta per passar-hi, és mig any o un any penso, no? Un any dels seus estudis universitaris, que han esdevingut un dels grans centres d'ensenyament d'anglès a la Unió Europea, sobretot molts espanyols que van estudiar anglès per als negocis a Malta, i que després, evidentment, han rebut molts diners per a infraestructures. Ja us he esmentat infraestructures de dues menes, la primera de carreteres, precisament per tenir aquest problema de sobrepoblació, doncs tot el que és infraestructura de transport és molt important per ells i han rebut molt importants inversions tant en ferris com en autobusos. Hi ha una empresa espanyola precisament que ha creat un nou sistema d'autobusos radials de la Valeta a totes les parts de la illa. I en tercer lloc, dels cotxes. No compren 800.000 cotxes com els britànics, no alemanys en qualsevol cas, però tenen masses cotxes i llavors això és un problema que estan intentant resolent i estan arribant a completar un problema d'infraestructures molt important de carretera. I l'altra part d'infraestructures que també estan rebent finançament de la Unió Europea són infraestructures de telecomunicacions. Es veu que l'objectiu, això si ho he entès bé, és que en mig segon es pugui parlar de la Valeta a Buenos Aires. Això no sé quin avantatge té, però això fa molt patxoca també. Són, doncs, els dos grans avantatges són que encara que no tinguis una agricultura potent sí que reps fonts de finançament i diners per fer avançar el país, i diu que el fet de pertànyer a la Unió Europea ja en si mateix és un gran avantatge perquè la Unió Europea és una potència mundial comercial i aleshores ser-hi doncs, sempre és molt millor que no ser-hi. Crec que això ha sigut un resum fidel del que ha dit el senyor ambaixador.
What has Malta done specifically in order to prevent other countries from leaving the EU by, for example, implementing measures as the President of the Council of the European Union? What steps has Malta taken in order to prevent other countries from leaving, and what steps will it take once it's no longer, well, it's no longer President, but in its time of no longer being
Sorry,
President?
is the question to prevent countries from leaving, other countries prevent?
Yes.
Yes.
Malta can do nothing.
Let me just translate it. El jove demana què ha fet Malta com a president del Consell de la Unió Europea i què farà ara que ja no n'és per evitar que més països marxin de la Unió Europea.
Malta can do nothing directly to prevent Malta can do nothing directly to prevent countries from leaving. This is not the it is not the empire of Europe and Malta becomes the emperor by rotation and says you cannot leave. All that Malta can do is that it can contribute towards making the life of a European citizen more pleasant, like with this introduction of the roaming charges. One of the problems with the EU is that the EU Commission is just like that bright light up there. It is too bright and it is distant from the European citizens. So what a small country can do is to create a bridge, a pontifex, make propose measures which makes its citizens, the European citizens, all closer to the Commission and vice versa, make the relationship between the powers that be, the people that put in EU regulations, more aware of the needs of the citizens. This in turn will make living within the EU more popular, and eventually this will hopefully prevent other countries from wishing to leave. If the EU continues to be successful or becomes more successful, if the European citizens within the EU feel more comfortable with being in the EU, then less countries potentially will ever want to leave. So Malta can not prevent countries directly by diktat from leaving. It can do nothing, but it can look to lobby to implement measures which will make living in the EU more feasible and increase the well-being and financial well-being and economic well-being of the European citizens. Once the EU is a bigger success economic story, then it will be the movement towards leaving will become will decline. I don't think there are many countries within the EU that are actually thinking of leaving. I think Brexit came about, as I told you, Brexit came about by, first of all, it came about by a very simple, very small majority. And The irony, I think, the people that voted most for Brexit to leave, for Britain to leave the EU, are mostly people from outside the EU who looked upon the heavy influx of EU citizens as competition through their work. It's not that Brexit, in the case of the United Kingdom, is an enormously popular idea, as I already said, but I think hopefully it will. I don't think that there will be several other countries that will consider leaving, but you never know. It could well be the case eventually that another country will want to leave. But no, Malta has not been able to influence directly the evolution of this possibility. It is powerless to do so directly. All it can do is improve the proposed regulations which improve the life of EU citizens and thus make of the EU a more viable success story that in itself will prevent a further breaking up of the Union, hopefully.
La resposta clara a la pregunta clara, que era què ha fet Malta concretament com a president del Consell de la Unió per evitar que més països marxin, la resposta és claríssima, res de res. Per què? Perquè no poden fer res. Diu que la Unió Europea no és un imperi amb un torn rotatori per fer d'emperador, que pugui dir no marxaràs, sinó que bàsicament si un estat membre vol marxar doncs hi ha poca cosa que pugui fer el president del Consell de la Unió. El que sí ha dit és que hi ha un problema, si més no percebut, que és que l'exemple que ha posat és que la Comissió Europea és com aquell foco, no? Com aquell llum que dona massa llum i a més és una mica allunyat de la ciutadania. Llavors el paper que té un president del Consell és fer una mica d'intermediari envers la Comissió o les institucions per donar-los a entendre quins són els problemes reals de la ciutadania i de les administracions o de les institucions comunitàries envers els països d'origen per traslladar i explicar què s'ha fet. Per què és important explicar què s'ha fet? Perquè ell pensa que els desitjos de romandre a la Unió Europea estan vinculats a l'èxit, si més no econòmic, de la Unió Europea. És la cosa, com més exitosa es percebeixi la Unió Europea, menys d'estats voldran marxar. Dit això, ha dit que tampoc sap de cap estat membre que en aquest moment estigui volent marxar. I ha tornat al tema de Brexit. Diu que el tema de Brexit, en la seva opinió, el que ha sigut decisiu per al vot molt justet, però el vot de sortir de la Unió Europea eren els votants d'origen no europeu, bàsicament de les antigues colònies del Regne Unit, que percebien la lliure circulació de treballadors, els treballadors búlgars, romanesos, polonesos al Regne Unit com a competència, i que és aquesta la immigració, és aquest el vot que bàsicament ha fet la diferència al Regne Unit, però que en general, si la Unió Europea té èxit i es pot vendre, entre cometes, com a tenint èxit, no passarà, no veu per què altres estats membres hagin de marxar o vulguin marxar.
Good evening, Mr. Micallef. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
My name is Sergio Cicluna. I'm a descendant of Maltese. I have two questions. The Maltese economy is going through an excellent moment. Which is the recipe for this success? And the second, Malta has achieved its independence in the 20th century. Which is the official position of the Maltese government on the conflict political in Catalonia? Thank you.
Són dues preguntes. La primera és, Malta té una situació econòmica envejable, quina és la recepta per haver-ho aconseguit? I la segona pregunta, Malta ha esdevingut independent al segle XX, quina és la posició oficial de Malta envers la situació política que teníem en aquest país?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to speak to somebody of Maltese origin. I always find it very moving. With the first question was?
What's the recipe for economic success?
The recipe for economic success was simply reducing taxes. Malta has had the same tax system since the Second World War. So essentially, it's risky to reduce taxes because you have a certain cost of government, you have cost of pensions, you have cost of free hospitals, of free schools. So when you reduce taxes, you are about to possibly use revenue, and every government needs revenue today to pay for so many things. But we have had the same good tax regime since the Second World War. We haven't changed. The only thing is that we've managed to reduce the cost of government, and we've managed to reduce taxes. We've also wanted to reduce taxes with a motive, not because we are heroes and we want to be. We reduce taxes because this brought about a higher degree of investment. The higher degree of investment increased our gross national product. The higher degree of investment brought in more companies and more people paying less tax, but more people paying more tax globally. And this has actually increased our revenue from tax. So the success story is based on that. Because we have, but Malta is not a matter of taxes. If any one of you looks at your mobile phone, you must realize that it probably has a component within it. It is made in Malta. Malta is not only financial services, and SGS Thomson is one of the largest companies in the world. It makes about 14% of the world microchip market. So you probably have a chip in your telephone that is made from Malta, like you are originally from Malta. There are a lot of surprises. Malta is a country full of surprises, but the tax system was basically not reducing taxes. This created larger investment from business enterprise. Malta has a socialist government, but one that walks very much hand in hand with the business community. So as they are the greatest generators of wealth, and it's been successful. More and more companies are using Malta as their umbrella base, and this has brought this success story. We have a very successful construction industry. We have had our infrastructure, which is being improved again. Part of our success is also thanks to the EU, because, for example, recently we've just been building these bridges. The EU financed the cost of it to something enormous, like 20 million. That goes into keeping Maltese workers working. Maltese workers working is less unemployment. More people unemployed is paying more people paying tax, even if they are paying less than they paid before. So the key of the economy was partly our financial industry, but partly our general industry. Our exports have been very good in things like microchips. Our tourism has grown like it's grown in Spain. That creates a lot of employment, and that in turn produces more tax producing citizens rather than unemployed people. So it is a matter of a whole series of factors. It cannot be put down to one factor on its own. As to the problem of Catalonia, Malta believes in the unity of Spain.
Dues respostes de llargària molt diferent. El jove he oblidat de dir que és maltès. Doncs benvingut a l'Ateneu Barcelonès, deu ser el primer maltès que ens veus a l'Ateneu Barcelonès, estadísticament parlant, és molt probable. La primera pregunta era quina és la recepta de l'èxit econòmic de Malta. El senyor ambaixador ha sigut molt clar, ha dit no han canviat el sistema impositiu des de la guerra, però s'han canviat els impostos. Han abaixat molt els impostos, ja havia dit abans a la seva introducció que han fet 3 abaixades d'impostos seguides de l'impost sobre la renda. El que m'ha dit abans de venir aquí és que l'impost de societats oficialment és del 35%, és a dir, molt semblant aquí, però que després es reembossa a les empreses 7/8 parts, és a dir, que de fet les empreses només paguen el 5%, cosa que explica que hi hagi moltíssima inversió a Malta, i no només per a serveis financers, sinó també per a indústria. L'exemple que ha fet, ensenyar el seu mòbil, és que, per exemple, l'empresa SG Thomson, que és un dels grans fabricants de xips del món per a mòbils, fabrica a Malta, és a dir, que la probabilitat de que tinguem un component maltès als nostres mòbils és molt alta, i que també tenen una indústria de la construcció molt bullent, en part perquè tota l'obra d'infraestructura que financia la Unió Europea evidentment dona feina als treballadors maltesos, però també perquè fan comandes fora de Malta. Això pel que fa a la recepta de l'èxit. Taxes, impostos més baixos, diu que els impostos més baixos sobten una mica perquè la gent diu, home, i els hospitals, les escoles, els parvularis, les pensions, com les pagarem, però que l'exemple, si més no maltès, no sé si demostra, però el que ha passat a Malta és que estic mirant aquí el Sasha Olovin, que és un gran liberal, i deia, efectivament, cal tallar el nivell impositiu o la pressió fiscal. El que ha passat a Malta és que els individus i les empreses estan pagant moltíssim menys que abans, però els ingressos globals del Ministeri de Finances són més alts. Hi ha més gent que paga, hi ha més empreses que paguen, cadascuna de les quals paga menys del que es pagava abans, però que globalment Malta està recaptant més diners que abans de baixar els impostos, paradoxalment. Això és la resposta a la primera pregunta, quina és la recepta de l'èxit econòmic de Malta. Resposta a la segona pregunta, quina és la posició oficial de Malta envers la crisi política que tenim en aquest país. Una frase, ha dit la posició oficial de Malta, és que recolza la unitat d'Espanya.
Excuse the delay of my question. Good evening, first of all. And second of all, I had a question regarding the role of the EU in general. There has been a conflict about the joining of Turkey over the past years.
Of where?
Of the country of Turkey has on various occasions stated that it would like to join the EU. I had a question regarding this possibility. If you believe that the joining of Turkey to the EU would have any major structural changes to how the EU works, and if Turkey, by its joining, would have any major influence in future decisions of the EU.
La pregunta és, Turquia és un dels candidats a l'adhesió a la Unió Europea. La pregunta és doble. Primer, si Turquia esdevingués un estat membre de la Unió Europea, quins canvis estructurals comportaria això a nivell del funcionament intern de la Unió Europea? I segon, quina influència tindria Turquia, quina influència sobre les decisions de la Unió Europea si esdevingués estat membre? És això, oi?
Well, first of all, that question would be more better answered by Donald Tusk, not by the ambassador of Malta. But I can tell you just a little bit that I know about the EU. I mean, the agreement had been signed between the EU and Turkey for accession talks to begin under a certain amount of conditions. This is the situation between Turkey and the EU. Turkey is an incredibly important and powerful country on the outskirts of the EU, and this was the situation that has been in play for the last 20 years. There were certain conditions placed upon Turkey to do with its democratization process and with other factors concerning the EU. So it is not up to me to say whether these conditions are being fulfilled or should be fulfilled or not, or whether the accession talks should begin. But it is clearly a situation now that accession talks have not yet begun. The possibilities are, again, what could happen are multifarious. It's difficult to see what the effects of Turkey's entry into the EU would be. They would obviously be very far-reaching, because, if I remember correctly, it's about 40 million citizens, right? Well, it's a very big bloc that would join the EU. Whether that will happen or not will depend on how events in Turkey unfold over the next decade. If Turkey will evolve according to the criteria set down by the EU, then it will be considered to become a viable member of the EU. But these are factors that are so outside my remit as ambassador, and so outside my remit in my capacity to answer such a question, that they are so far away from the power of just an ambassador of Malta during the presidency of the EU. They are light years away from my capacity to reply in the way maybe you wish me to reply. It just depends on it's entirely outside my hands. It depends. The outcome will much depend on how Turkey evolves as a country, and how the EU perceives it to evolve, and these are two factors that are entirely outside my control. But thank you for the question anyway.
L'ambaixador ha dit que això és una pregunta que normalment hauria de contestar el senyor Donald Tusk i no ell com a ambaixador maltès a Espanya, però malgrat això ens ha fet el favor de respondre-hi. Ha dit que Turquia és un país molt important i poderós, que és a l'entrada d'Europa, davant mateix d'Europa, i que per tant és una qüestió important, que s'havia acordat amb Turquia que es parlaria d'adhesió, que es començarien les negociacions oficials per l'adhesió sempre i quan es compleixin certes condicions que tenien a veure amb la democratització de Turquia, que fins ara no s'han complert, que és molt difícil per a ell veure quins canvis estructurals, que era la pregunta, comportaria una eventual adhesió de Turquia a la Unió Europea, però que serien certament importants perquè Turquia té una població de 40 milions, és a dir, que seria un estat membre dels grans, és a dir, que tindria un poder de decisió claríssim, i que per la resta saber què pot passar i si Turquia pot esdevenir estat membre de la Unió Europea dependrà primer de l'evolució que tingui Turquia en els propers 10 anys i segon en com es percebi des d'Europa, des de Brussel·les, aquesta evolució, i que endevinar una cosa o l'altra és anys llum del que ell com a ambaixador maltès pot dir o pot fer. És a dir, que la bola de cristall ell no la té, però hem d'esperar 10 anys, diu, per saber què haurà passat d'aquí 10 anys.
Yes, it had been with Brexit. It has been put in question the officiality of English language as the European Union official language. What has been made during Malta presidency of the Council to guarantee the continuity of English as an official European Union language after Brexit, because Ireland is the Gaelic, the official language, in spite of the widely spoken English, and I believe in Malta also is Maltese the official language. It's a question so important for young people as me, because we have been educated in English as the first foreign language, and for example in my case I have learned French only recently, because in Spain French language has been forgotten during so much years? Thank you very much.
La pregunta és què passa amb l'anglès com a llengua oficial de la Unió Europea ara que hi ha hagut el Brexit, perquè el jove entén que a Irlanda la llengua oficial és el gaèlic, malgrat que tothom hi parla anglès, i que a Malta és el maltès. I els diu que per als joves, no només d'espanyols sinó els joves a Europa, que l'anglès romangui o segueixi sent una llengua oficial és molt important, perquè no se n'ensenyen d'altres. Ell fa poc que ha estudiat francès, però que bàsicament el que s'aprèn a l'escola, la primera llengua estrangera, és l'anglès.
Well, I'm not so sure if I understood your question correctly. I do not think that English is in itself an official language of the EU. English has evolved into being the lingua franca of the whole world, more or less. Everybody speaks it in Asia, in Singapore, in Borneo, in part of the British Empire. And it's become a language that is very widely spoken in Europe. In Malta, it is the official language, but it's the official language because of the Constitution of Malta. Malta has English and Maltese as the two languages that are spoken in Malta. During our presidency, the presidency of the European Council has not been, first of all, you have to realize that it is a presidency of only 6 months. And in these 6 months, the effects of Brexit, of a potential Brexit, Malta was, like all countries in the EU, an observer. Brexit the referendum had been announced, and the game in play with Brexit, the factors that are playing now, the cost of the divorce bill, the cost of what form of economic trading relationship will the EU have with Great Britain is only now beginning to vaguely come into the picture. We still have no idea generally within the EU of the exact terms of reference of the divorce bill, nor do we have any idea of the negotiations. Negotiations have not even started. There have been some general criteria and general figures which have come into play with what the divorce bill will be. But as Donald Tusk said, the harder part is about to start, the negotiations on an agreement with the EU. So the actual future of the English language within the EU, I don't think has come up very much within the radar of the Maltese presidency. I don't believe that with Brexit you need to worry that if Brexit were to happen, I don't think you need to worry that the English language is going to affect your future as a student and as somebody who has learnt English. English is there to become more and more the language that most people will speak. In the past, when I was a young man, it was still French and English, the result of the two large empires, and Spanish. Spanish is I think the largest, most spoken language in the world is Chinese, I think then Spanish, and then English, and then perhaps French, but much less than before now. But there was a time when French and English were on a par as two possible international languages. There was an attempt to have a language for everybody to speak, which was Esperanto. Today in the United States of America, English and Spanish are almost equally spoken. They are the two largest spoken languages today. It's very difficult to find an American who doesn't speak Spanish. I mean, Spanish is spoken in South America. So the English language is one of the most spoken languages in the world. I don't think Brexit in itself in whatever form it takes. I mean, what do you think that Brexit is going to be? Do you think Brexit is going to be something whereby Brexit happens tomorrow morning and the United Kingdom is closed in a box on the side there? It's going to be still a very important European nation, which might be having to pay, which will be not part of the trading bloc perhaps. There might be tariffs that it will be paying. There might be very small tariffs. Hopefully there won't be many economic walls, because it is also the 7th richest country in the world. So it's not in the interest of EU countries that they will not perhaps be buying German cars, because they just go and buy them from Japan. So it will be in our interest to create a good trading relationship. Spain is the 2nd largest producer of cars in Europe. Spain is the 2nd largest producer of cars in Europe. So it's very important that Spanish cars will go to the United Kingdom. So this there will be a negotiation, and there will be hopefully a very successful one, whereby the trading bloc will continue to flow, maybe less than before, maybe more, definitely not more, because today there's no economic barriers, but more in the sense that more than we are envisaging. But Brexit is not going to mean the end of trading and economic and security relationship between the European Union and Great Britain. It's going to be a relationship in a different dimension, but it's going to be hopefully an important relationship. Hopefully the relation between the United Kingdom and Spain will continue to be a very powerful and meaningful one. I mean, there's an enormous amount of trade every single day that moves between Spain and the United Kingdom, billions. I know of one company in Murcia that exports over £1 million a week of vegetables to the United Kingdom. What are we going to do with all this lettuce? I mean, there is going to be a trading relationship between the European Union, and Brexit is not going to affect the power of the English language as one of the main languages spoken in the world. I believe that eventually two of the most spoken languages in the world will still remain Spanish and English, and no Brexit will affect it one. And of course, Malta's presidency did not affect the power of English to stay as an important language of communication within the EU one way or the other. I don't think so, not to my knowledge anyway.
Bé, diu que la qüestió de l'anglès no ha sorgit durant la presidència maltesa, que ell no pensa que sigui una qüestió de llengua oficial o no oficial. De fet, és llengua oficial de la Unió Europea perquè és llengua oficial a Malta, segons la Constitució maltesa ho és tant el maltès com l'anglès. Diu que bàsicament la preponderància o el domini de l'anglès és una qüestió econòmica i que això no canviarà amb el Brexit. De fet, diu que si demà el Regne Unit esdevingués un estat tercer, és a dir, si abandonés la Unió Europea demà, no seria com ficar-ho en una capsa i ficar la capsa damunt un prestatge i oblidar-se'n, sinó que la nostra economia seguiria depenent en molt gran mesura d'exportacions al Regne Unit. Hem dit abans que compraven 800.000 cotxes alemanys, també compren molts cotxes a Espanya, que és el segon productor de cotxes d'Europa, i que ell coneix empreses a Múrcia, per exemple, que exporten per milions d'euros mensuals enciams al Regne Unit. Aquests enciams s'han de vendre a una banda. És a dir, que ell pensa, és molt optimista quan l'acord al qual s'arribarà amb el Regne Unit, i que en virtut d'aquest acord el Regne Unit seguirà sent un soci comercial molt important de la Unió Europea, encara que ja no hi pertangui, i que per tant la llengua anglesa com a vehicle de comunicació seguirà sent molt important. De fet ell m'ha dit, no sé si és veritat, diu que el rànquing de llengües mundial és el xinès, l'espanyol i el castellà i l'anglès, i que ell pensa que l'anglès anirà més perquè cada vegada hi ha més gent que empra l'anglès com a mitjà de comunicació amb gent que no parla la llengua pròpia. És a dir, que diu que estigui tranquil, que com a estudiant a Europa no ha de patir i que per aquest motiu no es va discutir gens durant la presidència maltesa.
Just allow me to add just a thought that came to my mind just now. When I was ambassador to Washington, I was also ambassador to Canada, resident in Washington. And I used to go to Toronto, to Ottawa and to Toronto very often. And somebody was asking me questions in some body like this about what is the importance of, how powerful was the relationship between Canada and the United States of America. And somebody in the Ministry of Trade in Canada, when I asked him the same question, because I didn't know how to answer it, told me $1 billion a day. That is the power of the trade between Canada and the US. And the power of trade between the United Kingdom and the rest of the EU is very powerful. So it will be the main consideration for the future. I would look upon the future with more optimism. Don't worry, things will be all right.
No ens amoïnem, tot sortirà molt bé, seguirem sent socis comercials íntims, molt amics dels britànics, la pèrfida del Bió. Ha explicat una anècdota que quan ell era ambaixador a l'hora de Canadà i Estats Units va demanar de quan era el comerç entre els dos estats i li van dir $1.000 milions al dia i que potser amb el Regne Unit no sigui aquest volum tan important, però és prou important perquè tothom faci el que calgui perquè segueixi sent un soci privilegiat i amb el paquet també tindríem la llengua anglesa.
The problem with the world is not European Union and Brexit. The problem with the world is North Korea, ISIS. Those are the problems with the world. The European Union is a wonderful success story. So let's hope we overcome the problems that we have.
Oblidem-nos de cercar-hi problemes a la Unió Europea. No hi ha problemes a la Unió Europea. Brexit tampoc és un problema. Els veritables problemes al món són Corea del Nord i ISIS. Estat islàmic. Bé, tenim temps per una ultimíssima pregunta o intervenció.
Well, I do know that this is very far from your duties as ambassador, but the microcar is on the rise everywhere in the world.
The microcar?
Exactly. And my question would be in how far...
The electric car, you mean?
No, like a microcar is basically a car, but it goes at a velocity that it doesn't qualify for the number plate of a car, but for the number plate of a motorcycle.
Yes, I see.
So my question would be, in how far is the microcar important in the Maltese car economy? Because you've said before that there are lots and lots of cars in Malta. So this is a question just of personal interest.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know anything about micro cars, my dear boy. But all I can tell you is that I know something that I consider very close to my heart, although I'm not as young as you. I love these innovative ideas. We have, as a government in my country, introduced a system now very close to my heart. We've now removed any tax on hybrid cars, electric cars. We have also removed all road tax for electric cars, and we have a cut-off date. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I can't remember when. But not so distant future, we are going to be all electric. There's very good news in the air. There's, for example, Volvo is going to become an all-electric car production company. This year, you'll see 2018, some of the companies that have lagged a bit behind are coming faster to the fore. Like Toyota is super advanced with electric cars, but Mercedes are getting into hybrid cars. Eventually, we will have hybrid cars more all over Europe, because we have the big problem now, which will affect your life even more than mine, of climate change. 20 years ago, we knew nothing about climate change. We didn't know how bad the effect. Now, today we know. And we have to do something about it. Now that is another big worry, more than Brexit. Climate change. The polar cap is melting. It must stop. We must stop it melting, because the polar bears are not managing to hunt, and they are, falling off the little ice islands they hop on, and these are the main problems. So this micro car is something that I will look into and learn a bit more about it. I'm sure it will be. The microcars, the single car that drives, right? They're electric cars. Is that correct? Yes, but there's a lot of progress too that's being done with these kind of possibilities in India too, which is also a great polluter, but so is the. But yes, the most important thing to me, emotionally speaking, is that we have to look after our planet. We have to have a Mediterranean full of sustainable fishing, not overfish. We have to have a world where the tiger still survives, not in the zoo. We have to have a world where we don't kill elephants anymore. We don't cut off the noses of rhinos because they are aphrodisiac. People can go and buy Viagra if they want to have aphrodisiac. I mean, this is the absurdity of the world, that they cut off the nose of a rhino and they kill a tiger to make the bones because it makes men more masculine. I mean, these are terrible things which are, I find, the biggest problems confronting the 21st century. We have to look after the creations of God. We have to have less overheating of the planet, We have to look after this wonderful world. This is the main challenge to the survival of the wildlife, the survival of birds that are getting extinct. I forget how many animals get extinct every day. It's terrible. These are the heartbreaking problems. So if the microcar goes towards improving that, I will be very happy.
La pregunta era concretament què podria dir l'ambaixador sobre el microcotxe, i tampoc no coneixia aquesta expressió. Un microcotxe, diu aquest jove, és un cotxe que té una cilindrada petita, amb la qual cosa té matrícula de moto i no pas de cotxe, perquè també tampoc corre menys. Llavors l'ambaixador ha dit que ell, això microcars, no ho sap. El que sí que ha dit és que a Malta estan prenent moltes mesures per promoure el cotxe que contamini menys. De fet, ja no cobren impost de circulació ni pels cotxes híbrids ni pels cotxes elèctrics, i això li ha permès passar a dir que ell pensa que el gran problema d'Europa i del món és bàsicament l'ecologia, és protegir el món que ha fet Déu, és protegir els animals, és impedir, l'exemple que ha posat, que la gent caci els rinocerons i els talli les banyes per fer afrodisíacs. La gent els homes que els hi calgui un afrodisíac que comprin Viagra no és motiu per matar o per caçar rinocerons, i que aquest desori, l'extinció d'espècies cada dia, que no sap quantes són però que és dramàtic, que és això el que hauria de ser la nostra prioritat, i que en la mesura en què el microcotxe contamina menys i per tant contribueix a assolir aquestes metes, aquests objectius, doncs benvingut al microcotxe.
But even here there is some good news. For example, the population of blue whales and the population of whales, through the protection that has been brought about despite the Norwegians still killing them and the Japanese still killing them. The population of whales in the world has improved considerably, but there's too much harm being caused, both to the planet with overheating and to the animal kingdom. It's the biggest problem of the planet. The biggest problem is to look after the rest of the creatures we live with and love them.
Diu que fins i tot, com a optimista inveterat que és, fins i tot en l'àmbit de l'ecologia hi ha bones notícies. Les existències de balenes han pujat, els ramats, o com es digui, manades deuen ser de balenes han pujat, però que això només és un element i que l'ecologia, la protecció del nostre món ha de ser la nostra gran prioritat. I amb això tanco. With this, we put an end to this debate. Thank you very, very much, Ambassador, for having insisted so much for us to be able to have you. After 2 postponements, thank you very much for your very frank words and your vision for the future, not only of Europe, but of our planet. Hopefully, not only the people here or the people watching the video of this act will actually follow your advice. And to end this European Thursday, as usual, we'll listen to the anthem of Europe for a little while.
Thank you.